Yes. So yeah, hopefully everybody's having a good night. March 6th. The year's just flying by. March break is coming up too. Everybody's going to get a much needed break from all the chaos. So today on the news of the day, another tariffs are the lead story of the day. I'm getting sick of the word tariff, to be honest. It's getting just so heard it so many times now. Getting sick of it. I don't want to hear the word tariff ever again. Speaking of tariffs, apparently Donald Trump waved his presidential pen, and now it's April. He delayed the tariffs for another month, at least like the most of them, for another month. So April now. So it keeps stringing Canada along on the tariffs, and I think it shows a couple of things. He despises Trudeau, and his staff and the people around him despise Justin Trudeau and the Liberal government, just the way they've governed Canada. And also, I think all this tariff chaos is sending a clear message to companies that are thinking of investing in Canada or Mexico to, that if they want to be free of any of these problems, then they better set up shop within the United States. So he's doing two things. He's basically mini kind of a regime change light, saying like, I don't want to deal with Justin Trudeau. I don't want to deal with these liberal globalists, especially the environmental nuts like Mark Carney. I could see that meeting going great. And he's basically saying, I want someone who's more of our philosophy. And he doesn't like Trudeau, especially on a personal level. But also he wants companies to have a clear indication that if they want to avoid any problems, the best bet's to locate within the U.S. And this isn't a big secret. He has said this so many times that he wants these jobs in the U.S. So by delaying the tariffs, a lot of companies are starting to make plans, saying, okay, how do we do this, and it's going to be interesting to see how it plays out. So I think it's a dual strategy, just to sow chaos in the Canadian government, which is not hard to do. Look, a bunch of truckers shut down the whole country. How hard could it be? And then get companies conditioned to invest in the U.S. and not in Canada. But in a good situation, we'd have a government that's competent and figure out solutions to our problems. But this government, also the provincial governments, from for years now, have driven this country to the ground. So I'm not having much faith in them to rise us up. Maybe they'll surprise me, but I don't have much faith because I saw our Prime Minister Justin Trudeau was like literally crying. So crying in public at one of his last public appearances, and very emotional. And it's like, geez, Trump's really getting to him. Something's getting to him. So it's like, why does this guy just leave already? Holy. And it's not just that he's still prime minister. That's not the issue. The issue is he's been like really front and center on such consequential policies this last month since resigning. Ukraine war, $40 billion high-speed rail, tariff war with the U.S. These are major issues. And he's the lamest of lame ducks. So it's time for him to get the hell out because nobody wants to deal with him. And speaking of that, and then we got Pierre Poilievre, who supposedly was, there's a good chance he will succeed, be the next elected prime minister. So he's been called out. He was called out today he's starting to get called out a little by his supporters, his base, who are kind of disappointed in his Trudeau-like policies, like Ukraine war and tariffs, weak immigration, like not much on immigration. So he's been a little bit overshadowed and shuffled apart. Sorry, I'm having technical problems, but he's been a little overshadowed and having shuffled to the side with this whole drama with the tariffs. He hasn't really risen up to it, and I think his supporters expected him to rise up to the, to the moment, like especially like Trump invite him to Mar-a-Lago or something, and it didn't happen. And the idea is, if Trump liked Pierre, he would have invited him to Mar-a-Lago, and would he have went? Would it be appropriate for him to go? I don't know. Probably, maybe. I don't see why he wouldn't. He is leader of the opposition, and could be the next prime minister. So he wasn't invited though. So anyway, he's getting a little dragged in this whole tariff thing because he really comes about as a carbon copy of Trudeau. So and then we still got the Liberal leadership coming up very soon. Sunday, I believe. We should know Sunday. Better. I think it's Sunday. Like, they vote on Sunday. Like, it's closed on Sunday, but they should have it tallied by then. So, yeah. And hopefully Trudeau will retire or go surfing or do whatever. And I don't want to fall into the trap of thinking, some people think, okay, once Trudeau gone, everything's going to be great. Or even once the Liberals are defeated and the Conservatives take over, everything's going to be great. No. Lots of work still that needs to be done. But it'll be good to not look at them. Especially the crying in public. It reminds me of the Sopranos episode where Johnny Sack gets arrested or gets cuffed at his daughter's wedding, and he cries, and all the guys are looking at him. Phil Leotardo is like aghast. So, crying in public, probably not a good idea when you're trying to defend the country. I'm having big problems here. Ridiculous. Okay. So, lots of things. People's heads are spinning. Mine is. I don't even care. I just watch it. Not predicting nothing. Not predicting anything. Just going to go through the daily. The daily recall. for March 6th. I feel like I thought all day it's a Thursday today, but I felt like it was a Saturday. I don't know why. It's crazy. So, good morning, X Universe. First post by Chris Erickson. Parliamentarians in Canada should not be getting paid when prorogued. Pure theft and abuse of power across the board. Excuse me. Yeah. I agree with that. And then maybe they won't prorogue so much if they get their pay suspended. So I agree. Canadians suffering while our trader leaders live high off the hog. Yeah. Nice big paychecks. And they're probably hiding from their constituents. I know my MP, since Parliament's been prorogued, I haven't seen her anywhere in Sarnia. Marilyn Gladue, she's a Conservative MP, and I heard they were muzzled, just like the provincial MPPs were muzzled. And I haven't seen her anywhere. Next post. Elbows up is the new stay safe, stay home. Yeah, so this elbows up thing with Canada, the trade thing, it's one of the kind of the mass formation slogans that people are starting to use. I don't know if this one's going to catch on. It's kind of stupid. Elbows up. You could hurt somebody. Let's see what he says here. Oh. Hold on a sec here.
Grave mistake to see that politeness as weakness.
I'm having a few technical difficulties tonight, but
last weekend, Canadian comedian Mike Myers was on Saturday Night Live.
Okay, let's do
Last weekend, Canadian comedian Mike Myers was on Saturday Night Live. He wore a T-shirt that said "Canada's not for sale," and he mouthed the words to the cameras, "Elbows up." For those of you who may not be hockey fans, elbows up means the other team's trying to take advantage, and if they come at you, they're going to feel it, Honorable Speaker. You know, as Canadians, we have a reputation for politeness. We're polite, sometimes to a fault, but it is a grave mistake to see that politeness as weakness. We will always be the true north, strong and free with our elbows up,
okay.
Honorable Speaker.
Elbows up. I hope I really hope the elbows up thing doesn't catch on. Like it was like what, stay safe and stay home and 2 weeks. Oh my gosh. Here, this meme was, I think, very accurate. Abort our own children, which we're encouraging the girls to do. Import hostile immigrants. They're nice until they become the majority. And disarm ourselves. Well, disarm ourselves, yes. More gun control every year. And a lot of people support all three of those. Canada in a nutshell. Next post. The question of the day. Why do European leaders want war with every fiber of their being? Yes, that's a good question. That's another thing that's going on besides this whole tariff business is the Europeans are desperate to keep the war going with Ukraine and Russia. I'm sure there'll be more developments next week. regarding Zelensky. I think the U.S. is trying to get rid of him. So yeah, that's a good question. But I read a book just now about the rise and fall of great powers, and it basically, I was shocked. I was shocked how much wars the Europeans fought against each other from like 1500. Like this is when wars got like armies were actually organized and gotten bigger and more funded with money. And for like non-stop, what do they have? They didn't have, they're the only continent that had like 30 years war, 100 years war, 2 world wars. Right, like they hosted 2 world wars. Like, come on. It's kind of in their blood, I guess. My parents are Greek, and I don't know. I don't think the Greeks are that. I think it's more the Northern Europeans. Because they've been this I was shocked how many times they were killing each other, like, and they switched sides too over the centuries. It depends on who's the biggest one, and they gang up on the biggest guy. Britain was very good at that game. Okay, it's all messed up. Those Europeans, they never learned, and that's why Canada was successful because it had the European immigrants. But without the crazy wars, constant warring with each other. That's gone now. Next post. Trump is doing what Canadian journalists won't, calling out Justin Trudeau. Canadians might not like Trump much, but you have to admit sometimes he nails it. So the part she's highlighting is, he was unable to tell me when the Canadian election is taking place, which made me curious, like, what's going on here? I then realized he's trying to use this issue to stay in power. Good luck, Justin. So, yeah. This has been a constant theme here on my page. It's like, why is he still talking? Why is Justin Trudeau still making major policy decisions? And nobody in the journalists in Canada is saying, like, hey, this is, like, beyond inappropriate. You've lost the confidence of the people. You have no parliament. And you're going to be replaced in a few days. You have no authority, really. I know you've been elected, but you've lost that confidence. And nobody's called them out on it. Only, it takes Donald Trump to call them out on that, too. See, this is the thing. When you have a compliant media in Canada, the last 10 years going down the woke road with the government hand in hand, this is the kind of coverage you get. Like, Trudeau has no business. He's so far since resigning, he's called his intention to resign. He's called for the $40 billion high-speed rail, more support for Ukraine, tariff war with the U.S., and all, like, whatever his environmental mishmash that he's still pushing. So, nobody's saying, hey, hold on, buddy. Maybe you should just chill, like, sit down and wait, wait till they pick a new leader. And he's holding conferences over representing Canada overseas. Like, he doesn't understand how dumb he looks, I don't think. Like me, I wouldn't do it. Next post. But only 3 or 4 more days. 3 or 4 more days. All right. Next post here. Ukraine's still simmering there. Some background to the war in Ukraine explained with maps. Most of the people in eastern Ukraine are ethnic Russians. This is because Lenin handed over Russian territory to Ukraine in 1922. He did this purely for geopolitical reasons. And then, okay. So it basically says how they didn't like the results after the coup in 2014 and all these Russian speakers. Okay, so we know all that. But again, with this book I just read, The Rise and Fall of Great Powers, the area of Ukraine went so many different ways. The Germans rolled over, the Polish, the Russians. It was just such a spot of war for hundreds of years. I thought that was interesting. How crazy that border just kept changing over hundreds of years. Crazy. So that's what Russia controls, the red. Or no, that's who voted for the pro-Russia candidate in the red. So basically the battle line almost. That's today. And then Russian speaking. So it's basically the battle map of whatever they are almost today. A little more here. The Russians aren't quite to Moldova yet. Yeah, that's crazy. We'll see what they if they do a peace deal yet. Looks like they're trying to get rid of Zelensky. That should be interesting. Okay. So, next post. A little closer to home here. Big theft bust. Peel police announced 5 arrests made in prolific theft ring targeting LCBO. And I wrote, those Singh boys always up to mischief. Because I think most of the suspects here are Singhs. There's a Kumar there. So basically they just hit all the LCBOs and walked out with a bunch of booze. They probably distracted. I think someone distracted the workers. The other one grabbed some booze, whatever. But this is what happens when you let them get away with it. Like I seen videos of the employees just letting them walk out before. So then next thing you know, you have an organized LCBO ring. I wonder how many other people are doing this. They're probably out in bail already. Arrested, but probably out on bail. All right. Next slide. Next post. The people who are trying to tell us now is not the time for an election because we are in crisis are the very same people who called an election during the deadliest pandemic in generations. Yeah, these people, our leaders, are just horrible, incompetent, horrible, liars, criminals almost, pretty well. I don't like to say criminal until I have evidence, but, well, they are kind of criminals, so. Yeah, I don't know how long they can hold off. They're going to have to call an election soon, I think. Very soon. Things are getting ridiculous. And I think that's why Trump keeps delaying the tariffs. I think that's his way. It's like saying, Jesus Christ, have your election already so I can deal with whoever the hell turns up and then we can get some stuff done. Because I don't want to deal with this turd Trudeau. I'm just paraphrasing Trump, I think that's another reason he would be delaying. Like, I think he's serious about getting jobs to the U.S., but he's also, he probably knows he can't steal all the jobs, and he needs to negotiate, and but he doesn't want to negotiate with Trudeau, so it's like he's given us time to have an election, but they still won't do it. But I think that's the message that's being sent. That's why I think when Carney, which is like the likely winner, we'll see what happens if there's any chicanery or whatever. But regardless, I think even if it's Freeland, maybe not. Freeland might not try and call an election, but I think that's the message being sent from Washington. Is like, have your damn election already so we can get down to business. That makes sense. Like Trump's tweets are saying about Trudeau pushing back the election or not holding an election. I think that's what they want. It's like, yeah, we want to steal as many jobs as we can and put them in the U.S., but also we want to deal with you, but not with Trudeau, so hold your damn election. That makes sense. Next post. It's another nice meme. Most Canadian. The couch is on fire, and he's just sleeping. That's outside, too. If it was inside, it wouldn't be funny, but it's outside. But yeah, most Canadians, Canada, the couch is on fire. Oh. And I said, people really need to wake up. Yeah, because if you look at the COVID, most people went along with the COVID. And most people are going along with this, and most people are going along with that. I don't know what it takes to wake them up. If they ain't awake by now, the couch is going to be gone. All right. I'm on low power mode, I think. Okay. Next post. We're talking about Doug Ford, too. He's still plastered all over U.S. TV. Like every producer in the U.S. news shows that want to book Doug Ford. And, you know, obviously, it's the biggest province, so whatever. But I don't think there's such a thing as overexposure. And, like, I don't know if you want to show Doug Ford's face to U.S. constantly. They might get just sick of him. But we'll see. You never know. Doug Ford could prove me wrong. And he might not be a disaster. He might get along, do a good deal with Trump. I don't think so. I think it'll be a disaster. But I give anybody the benefit of the doubt until they totally fail. I don't want Ontario to fail at all, but I don't have much faith in Doug Ford at all. But he's been plastered all over the TV. Here, speaking of Doug Ford, here we got their next post. Anthony Farnell. I think he's the weatherman at Global. It's a picture of the Ontario Science Centre. How many Ontario families wish that Ontario Science Centre was still around for March break next week? What a shame. It is a shame. The funny thing is, my daughter wanted to go to the Science Centre. And I said, I'll take you. I like the Science Centre. I've been there. I went there when I was a kid. And it's nice and it's big and it's open. And it's really educational. And it's not hugely expensive. And it's just fun, you know, good for kids to learn, see science in a fun way. And what does that fat pig do? He shuts it down. He said the roof was unsafe or whatever. It's like, which is bullshit. He wants to move it. He wants that land for his developer buddies. And he wants to move it. And he figures, we'll close it, call it unsafe. It didn't fall the roof. We had all the snow, nothing fell. So anyway, his fat laziness took that away from my daughter. I would have took her for sure. And a lot of families would have. Because the hotel we stay at usually is right by there too. So just what a horrible person he is. This is the guy who's going to save us from Donald Trump. He's the one who's destroying us. It really is a shame. So that's what I said. I was planning on taking my kids there just before Doug Ford shuttered it. Literally just before. So such a disgraceful. Disgraceful. He'd, you know, he's more worried about having beer everywhere and than keeping the science center open. And this is another thing today, a little frustration on X about the lack of the Epstein list being released, lack of a list. And they were like making all these promises and gave those stupid binders out to the influencers, and they were like, "Oh, here's the Epstein list." It was big nothing. And it said, instead of looking for Epstein files, Attorney General Pam Bondi has decided to open an investigation into alleged anti-Semitism at the University of California. Ugh. Yeah. This better not continue. I don't see them giving out the Epstein list. Must have some crazy big names on it. I don't think we're ever going to see the Epstein list. Never. Maybe in 100 years they'll
Epstein.
And I think it's because of his.
Find it, you know.
I think that because I.
And there's another Epstein. Looks like the Epstein list is never coming out. So Ian Carroll, he was on Joe Rogan. Because they involve Israel and the 911 dancing Israel.
And I'm not saying it was all of Israel.
Jeffrey Epstein was the world's most evil sex trafficker, and he was clearly a Jewish organization working on behalf of Israel. Let's see what he says.
In those targets, too. Elements in the CIA does. Certainly they had.
Out of all the information that's getting disclosed, supposedly this administration, what do you have the least faith that we're going to come to
Epstein,
a conclusion?
for sure.
Epstein.
And I think it's because of Israel. I think that because when you really dig into Epstein, his entire network was Israel. It was clearly like Ehud Barak was the ex-prime minister and the ex-head of Israeli intelligence. Leslie Wexner was one of the most powerful pro-Israeli philanthropists. The whole organization was Israel.
So
and I'm not saying it was all of Israel.
It was all an intelligence gathering and
it was targeting Americans. It was targeting American officials and the American president.
Right.
And the CIA does have interest in those targets too. Elements in the CIA does. Certainly they had help from the CIA, and certainly they had help from these other organized crime and intelligence operations. But you don't, so for example, Dan Bongino, the new, deputy director of the FBI, he recently had this clip that went all around where he said on camera that he had a source that he trusted deeply. And he's an informed guy. He was at a Fox News interview, and the source told him that Epstein was working for an intelligence agency in the Middle East. And I don't know which one, but someone in the Middle East. And to be fair, we all already knew this. We already know who he worked for. At least I think so.
So that's the Epstein list. We're not going to watch that whole clip, but yeah, it's not coming out. Alex Jones commenting on it. I mean, it might eventually come out. Thomas Massey, I just introduced End the Fed. Americans would be better off if the Federal Reserve did not exist. The Fed devalues our currency by monetizing the debt, causing inflation. Yes. And this is today, next post. Justin Trudeau, why is he still yapping? Just go away already. Yeah, he was doing some big daycare announcement today. I think that's where he was crying. He's getting all emotional. Oh my God. Look at he's surrounded by all the women. I'm sure they had a nice hug after. What day is it today? Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. 3 more days. Just go away. Next post. Another Ukraine. Elon Musk. Ukraine needs to hold an election. Zelensky would lose by a landslide. Trump's team has met with key Ukrainian opposition leaders to discuss holding emergency elections to replace Zelensky. Regime change may be the only path to peace, avoiding a global war. So yeah, that's what you're saying about Zelensky. If they're going to replace him, it should happen soon, I think. He's usually when the U.S. decides to replace you, your days are numbered. They might not even take him either. They might just send him to the wolves. And this is another next post. Trudeau talking still. And this is the thing I was saying about Trudeau not going away. Like, and he's getting major policy announcements when he has really no credibility. Now he's talking about saying that I can confirm that we will continue to be in a trade war that was launched by the United States for the foreseeable future, says the Prime Minister as he comments on yesterday's talks with President Trump. So, like, foreseeable future, I mean, you're supposed to be gone in 3 days. Why are you even commenting? Maybe you should just shut up and not comment. Next post. Elbows up is not something we teach in hockey. That's what goons do. We teach be smart, be fast, and keep your head on a swivel. The fact that the Liberals are using elbows up as a rallying cry shows how disconnected they are with the real life. Yeah, I don't know hockey that well, but elbows up sounds stupid. Okay, the next slide. Next post. Globalist traitor Justin Trudeau, the face of a guilty man pleading his innocence. He has put himself and his own interests above everyone else, and he knows it. Let's see, look at his government.
We will not let Canadians down.
At least in 3 days, we don't have to listen. We'll still be screwed, but at least we won't have to listen to him.
Personal level, I've made sure that every single day in this office, I put Canadians first, that I have people's backs. And that's why I'm here to tell you all that we got you. Even in the very last days of this government, we will not let Canadians down today and long into the future.
Oh my God. Really, like, he just doesn't get it. Just doesn't take a hint. But whatever, 3 more days. Next post. And this, Doug Ford says Ontario will place 25% tariff on electricity supplied to U.S. states by Monday. I'm a little confused on how this all tariff business works, but it's not good for business. Let's see how this works. So I'm assuming a tariff they mean by an export tariff, whereas they just charge 25% more to the customers in the States. I don't know. So he's calling it a surcharge. All right. So basically, Ford's going to do these energy tariffs, surcharge on the states starting Monday, even after Trump delayed the other tariffs till April. So, I mean, it's weird how Ford's really getting in front of this. He's not the prime minister. I don't know. It's like he's being told how to act. I don't trust him. So 25%. I don't think Ford realizes, though, like, we have, like, a very important pipeline that runs through Michigan into Sarnia, Ontario, and it provides a lot of supply to energy supply to this area and to the industry in Ontario. So if you push them hard enough, they can cut that off. The Michigan governor's been trying to get that shut down for a long time anyway. So the U.S. federal government's wouldn't let them. So Ford's playing with fire. Next post here. More crying Trudeau. Oh. Trudeau has broken up and crying after less than 2 months of Donald Trump as president. Like, literally. Trump's hasn't even been president. Maybe. Has it been? No, not even 2 months. Wait. March 20th. Whatever. Like 2 months. And the guy's crying like a little baby. This is the dumbest answer. He's like,
Your foreign affairs minister yesterday called all of this a psychodrama. How do you characterize it?
Thursday?
oh. He's waiting for people to laugh at his lame joke. So show how tough he is as he cries. Next post. Remember, Justin Trudeau didn't cry when he did this. Yeah, he's crying now.
As you can also see, Canada is a place of free expression, where individuals and communities are free to express themselves openly and strongly. And we thank them for sharing their perspectives. Merci beaucoup. Merci d'être ici. Being a democracy doesn't mean we all agree. It means we all work together, we all listen to each other, we all respect each other, and that's how we move forward on doing the most important thing in front of us, which is protecting nature.
Look, the guy's wearing a mask. Oh. All right. Next post. Ontario will keep U.S. booze off LCBO shelves and go ahead with energy export tax despite 1 month pause on tariffs. Look at this clown. Oh my God. He looks like he's drinking. I don't know. We'll see. Maybe he's a genius and he's going to outwit Trump. I don't think so. I'm not making no predictions anymore. Things will all be revealed in good time. Next post. On top of crying during a press conference today, Justin Trudeau also declared that he is a Zionist.
No one in Canada should ever be afraid to call themselves a Zionist. I am a Zionist.
When was this? Today, I guess. All right. Less than half of Americans now sympathetic towards Israel. I saw this today. I thought that was interesting. And we're talking like a lot about elections and how the boomers control basically election outcomes. And they also control like a lot of the discourse, like the pro-Israel thing came a lot from the boomers because, you know, they grew up in this propaganda to believe that Israel was like, could do no wrong and this and that. And a lot of the younger generation, especially the TikTokers, don't feel the same way as the boomers. So Israel's going to have to figure out a new strategy to change that course. Next post. That's still quiet over there too. We'll see what happens. That blows up a little. It's due for a blow up. It's been quiet, too quiet in the Middle East. Next post. Here we're talking about Pierre Poilievre getting a loss in the shuffle of all this tariff talk. and the Trump presidency, and it seems clear like Trump doesn't really think much of Pierre. Didn't really invite him to Mar-a-Lago, and maybe he did invite him and Pierre didn't want to go. Who knows? But this is Patrick Bet David. He was a popular podcaster, I guess, in the States. I don't really watch him, but he's kind of, he gets a lot of big guests on, and he gets a lot of views. Like his podcast gets quite a bit of views. So I guess he invited Pierre Poilievre on, and he was turned down. And then he kind of ranted about Pierre. I want to listen. But it's just kind of like, he's really timid, Pierre. Like, he won't go on these podcasts. He'll go on some that are like really easy, like True North. But he won't go on ones that are might be a bit unpredictable, especially going with all the stuff going on right now. And, that's kind of what exactly he should be doing, because Trump went on all the podcasts. And, that was one of the keys to his victory. And Pierre's sounds like he's too chicken to venture onto this new kind of landscape. And, they are American ones, but let's be honest, they get a lot of views. So regardless if they're American podcasts, a lot of Canadians would watch it. But anyway, let's see what he says. Pierre the poser. So Pierre is getting... Kirk Lubimov says Pierre's getting absolutely obliterated by Patrick Bet David, who invited him to do Valuetainment podcasts and refused for not showing up for the people and talking to the people. So he says Pierre Poilievre campaigned on the same way Kamala Harris did. Ooh, that's fighting words there. You're comparing him to
arrogant and confident
Kamala
that they're going to win.
Harris. You can't. That's getting pretty low. He just refuses to talk to the people, with the people, and instead does these rah-rah soundbite rallies and leaves. This elitist campaigning just doesn't work. Never mind the messaging lately. So it's Kirk Lubimov writing about the frustrations around the Poilievre campaign. Let's see what Mr.
About Canadian sovereignty. Maybe go to one that has to do with
Patrick,
Trudeau. Right there.
It's interesting.
Here's what's funny. Think about who.
I thought I would have watched this. If Pierre was on his show, I would have watched. It would have been interesting. So, what's he afraid of?
Who, as a world leader, has a shittier resume than him and a worse approval rating. The fact that people are done with him. Mm-hmm. And even with that, Pierre Poilievre couldn't beat him.
That's what's the sad part.
Well, you know why it's not sad? Because every time we invited Pierre, arrogant, pompous team, the only podcast he ever did is Jordan Peterson. So let me get this straight. You saw Millet win because he went everywhere. You saw Bukele win, he went everywhere. You saw Trump win because he went everywhere. You saw Bobby win because he went everywhere. You saw Vivek become a superstar because he went everywhere. And you don't, you deserve losing. And you didn't win. And I said that to Canadians who love him. The candidate you adore and admire and love doesn't want to work. God forbid he has to cross the border and go talk to other borders to bring attention. God forbid, too much travel time. He's got to eat his apple. He's got to eat his apple because he's got to get his apple in his system. Go to New York, do a damn podcast outside of Jordan Peterson. Go do Joe Rogan's podcast. Go.
Like, he's right. Like, he's really eviscerating Pierre here. He's making him look bad. But this has been indicative of Pierre since Trump's been elected. He looks much weaker. Just the contrast between the two it's just weak.
To some other podcast and talk to Lex. Go talk to whatever these other podcasts are. Go talk to Andrew Schultz down the street from you in New York.
You'll never go on Andrew Schultz.
And you lost to Justin. You couldn't beat him. That's embarrassing. So that's the part also, Vinny, where the opposition is so arrogant and confident that they're going to win that they lose. How many clips did we see of Pierre going viral?
A bunch. Oh.
Rob, just go type in his name and,
Yeah,
and type in go on YouTube, Rob, and type in his name if you could. Just type in YouTube, Pierre Poilievre. It's very easy to spell. Pierre, P-I-E-R-R-E. Right there. Just go to that one. And then go to filters and go to views. Okay? Go to filters and go to views. Just play, what is that one? Response to questions about Canadian sovereignty. Yeah. Maybe go to one that has to do with Trudeau. Right there. Play the second one. Watch this. Watch this.
This is the debate.
Can you,
by this wacko prime minister.
Go back a little bit, Rob.
An end to this wacko policy by this wacko prime minister.
No. I'm going to ask the honourable Leader of the Opposition to withdraw that term, which is not considered parliamentary.
Mr. Speaker, I replace wacko with extremist. He is an
The honourable member to please, I'm going to ask the Leader of the Opposition once again to just withdraw that comment, please.
I'll replace it with radical fascist policy.
I am not asking to replace. I'm asking the honourable member to just simply withdraw.
Mr. Speaker, I replace the word wacko with extremist.
I'm going to ask the honourable Leader of the Opposition.
Go back. You get the idea, right? Go back a little. Let's go to another one, okay, to see how talented this guy is. Go to this next one. Project Taxpayer Funded. Okay, play this one here, Rob.
I'd like to welcome the Prime Minister back from his $80,000 vacation, which he got for free. He said, like most Canadians, friends welcomed him for that vacation. He took two, not one, but two private jets paid for by the taxpayer, burning 100 tons of greenhouse gases into the atmosphere.
Go back, Rob. So now go all the way to the top, if you could, and just type in podcast next to him. And do me a favor, eliminate his first name, just put Poilievre Podcast, and go to filters and go to views. And let's see what podcast he's done. Okay? Zoom in. 18? So Jordan Peterson, 2 months ago, 5 million. He needs to do that once every other month. Okay? Keep going lower. Specific to podcast. Keep going. That's another Jordan Peterson from 2 years ago. It's the only one he does. Keep going lower.
None.
Keep going lower.
He's eating an apple.
Keep going lower. Keep going lower.
Nothing.
Keep going lower.
Nothing.
Keep going lower. Another Jordan Peterson. Keep going lower. Keep going lower. Keep going lower. Other people are talking about him. Yeah. So guess what?
I never realized
You can be as talented as you want and as strong as you want, and you think you've won without earning the right to win. You don't believe in capitalism. You just want it to be handed to you. I'm sorry, Canadians. You need a better candidate that's willing to work their asses off to make Canada great again. And this guy didn't want to work.
And this is
I watched him give messages. I'm like, what a great message. Get your ass in front of cameras. Didn't want to do it. Go talk to people. Pierre Poilievre campaigned the same exact way as Kamala Harris did.
Ooh.
When it comes down to campaigning, not policies, he is Kamala Harris. Pierre, your hero that you guys wanted, does not want to work. I hope Canadians see this and send it around and blast him and encourage him to go talk to the biggest podcast in Canada. He's not too good for podcasts in Canada. He's only talking to Jordan Peterson. Go talk to the people. You say you want to be a man of the people? Go be the man of the people. That's what Millet did. That's what others did. Locked up behind camera just talking to Jordan Peterson and mainstream type of people. This is 2025. A 78-year-old man did laps around you. And he went and took it from the other guys. With all the games they played, you just want to sit there, play easy. Very disappointed. The reason why I'm disappointed is because I love the people of Canada. We have so many great friends in Canada. I have so many memories of going to Canada, going to Lake Louise, staying at the Chateau Fairmont Hotel in Lake Louise, or going to Banff, or going to Toronto to eat at the restaurant. You know, Goodfellas that had some incredible burrata cheese with the owners, bringing out to me the pizza that they would make in a little mobster-looking type of a restaurant, or going and doing business with people like at Forrester's Insurance Company that for many, many years we sold more policies at Forrester's in Canada than any other insurance company in the world. Some incredible people when I would go out there, have a great time. One time I read in it, I bought an RV. I went from LA to Miami to Toronto to San Francisco, back to LA. We had such good times in Toronto. I am so disappointed in a lack of fight that Pierre showed outside of just getting on mainstream media. You had such a big opportunity. Canadians, hold your candidates accountable. There is no such thing as competition that is going to be handed to you. In no space, not business, not politics, not sports, not church, not military, in nothing. What a disappointing of a performance by a candidate to not show up. What a disappointing of a performance. I'm not even Canadian. I shouldn't give a shit. And I'm like, he should go on that show. Canadians are texting me, hey, what do you think about this guy? He's great, but he's not working hard enough. Well, what do you mean you should give him a second chance? He's not working hard enough. Give me a flipping break. You had an opportunity to get in there and change the policies up. No, you didn't. You need to fight him, man, no matter what the place is. Anyways,
So I don't know if he's confused. I don't know if he thinks Pierre already lost an election. I'm not sure, but the basic message is correct. And I'm not really a fan of PBD, but I don't hate him, but I'm not really a big fan. But he makes a very good point here. He kind of crystallizes the criticism of Pierre, how he's kind of like playing it safe and he's wishy-washy, and instead of having principles, he looks at polls and decides what he's going to say based on those. And it's catching up with him because Trump exposes people like that. He calls them out. And as we said, he hasn't been invited to Mar-a-Lago. They don't really think highly of him. And then this kind of attitude against Pierre is kind of like the general attitude I think the Mar-a-Lago types feel about him. So it's like they're not impressed with him. So, PBD might be a little butthurt that Pierre didn't go on his show, but I think he's got some points. Like, Pierre hasn't really done any podcasts besides Jordan Peterson and the True North, which is it's the Pierre-friendly organization. So, yeah, being called out Pierre. And he is playing it safe. And, when you play it safe, you got this 20 point lead. You see that lead will evaporate. And even now, even if they have a 13-point lead, it's 13 points in politics. That could disappear with one more wrong slip of the tongue. So, you play it safe. You play with the lead. Sometimes you play it safe. Sometimes you play it too safe. Here's the final, another video of Trudeau crying today.
We got you.
Look at this.
Even in the very last days of this government.
Oh, my God.
On a personal level.
This is Canada
I've made
in
sure
the last 10 years.
every single day in this office, I put
We need a
Canadians
renewal.
first, that I have people's backs. And that's why I'm here to tell you all.
Oh, my God.
We got you. Even in the very last days of this government.
No,
we will
thanks.
not let Canadians down today and long into the future.
Track one.
All right. So, we'll see what happens. Coming back Monday night, we'll see what happens over the weekend. Until then, everybody have a nice weekend. And don't go with your no elbows up, please. Thanks.